Hey everyone, and welcome to Screams After Midnight. I am Peter, that is Tim, and we talk about horror movies on this show. Often new ones, sometimes old ones, and just whatever, kinda. We're talking about a new one this week. We're talking about a movie called Peelers, which hit the VOD scene in the last month or so. And I thought it was a zombie movie going in. It isn't really. It's kind of it's got a couple of zombie elements, but it's really not. It's more of a virus that turns you into a serial killer kind of thing. But it's set at a strip club. That's where the movie's set. It's all set at a strip club. So that's what the movie's about. We'll start spoiler free, as we always do. And we'll give you a warning before spoilers. So I guess the first thing I need to ask about Tim is how he felt about Peelers.
Not good. Not good.
Not good
at all.
Oh dear.
No, I did not enjoy this movie in the slightest.
Oh my. I unfortunately have to agree with Tim.
You always set me up. I'm always like, oh, maybe he's sounds like he's getting
yeah, maybe we're going to fight. No, don't get me wrong. I think this was easier to watch than a lot of the bad movies we've watched this year. Like, I would rather watch this again than say Don't Knock Twice or Bye Bye Man or whatever. Like, I would rank it above those, but
Certainly.
I think the first thing that really springs to mind if I'm talking about criticisms of this movie is, Jesus Christ, the acting is rough.
Atrocious.
It is very difficult to take anything that any of these characters say seriously. There's like one or two who are okay. Like, I thought the Frankie, because obviously there's various strippers in it. Frankie, who's the sort of the kickboxer one, I thought she was okay. There's a couple of them that are okay. The main girl's very hit or miss. The worst actor, actually, no, he's not the worst. Right. So the two worst actors, I'll say they're tied for worst, is the bodyguard, sort of the bouncer guy, who's sort of muscly, and the sort of blonde young guy who turns out it's one character's son, even though I thought they were meant to be brother sister at one point. So shows you how much. I don't know if that was me not paying attention or if it was just genuinely unclear, but
I don't know pretty much anything about like Justin Bieber, but I got very Justin Bieber-y vibes from him.
I can see it. I can see what you mean by that. His name is Logan. His character. He's a bit of a troublemaker. The ladies like him. And the movie is 95 minutes long, right? And I could easily cut out about 20 minutes of this. Easily.
Oh, certainly.
For a start, the opening titles with music lasts forever. Like, don't get me wrong, obviously opening titles last a little bit of time, you get through all the credits, all that kind of thing. But this felt like it went on, and it was intercut with like a stripper. Like, there was like close-up of boobs in between each title. So it felt like it was lingering on those a bit longer than it needed to. And as a result, it felt like it went on forever.
If we're going to be 100% honest, I feel like this movie, it's kind of for like sleazeballs. Like, I feel like it's basically just trying to be like, hey, zombies in a strip club, and if you're the kind of guy that's like, oh, cool, zombies in a strip club, like, that's what you're gonna get.
I can't deny that, and that's the things where I say it runs too long. Like, all the stripper sequences, like, because it takes a little while for the movie to actually get to the horror plot. A lot of it's setting up the characters, which I actually, in a weird way, kind of appreciate, because at least, alright, it's at least try. It's terrible at it. It
wants the characters to be more than they really are. Like, like everything feels so one note.
Do you know what it is? Do you know what it is? It's like the writer, like, went into one writing class and picked up a couple of like tips, and he did them too often. Like, because the main character, Blue Jeans, or the main character who runs this strip club, she likes baseball, and if you're unsure that she likes baseball, she'll be throwing a ball around. She'll have a bat later on. She'll have a baseball hat at various. Like, they keep dropping references. Like, at one point, a guy's pissing her off, and she's like, "That's strike one." And later on, she's like, "That's strike two." And I'm like, I get it. She likes baseball. For the love of God, stop it.
there's like she only has two character traits. One, she likes baseball. Two, she doesn't like people to call her BJ. And if you don't think that like both of those jokes are gonna get hammered into the ground, like you are mistaken.
I know they really do. They do it over, especially the baseball one. The baseball one is like so repetitive. They keep doing it.
And there's like scenes where we'll get into a little bit more in the spoiler, but like by the end of the movie, there's scenes with that they're just so like laughably bad.
I know what you're talking about. We'll get to that in spoilers. Oh dear. So,
I will say, as much as I hated this movie, there was
some laughter.
one thing. Yeah, like there was one thing that Logan does, like at the very end of the movie, that I was like, I hated the movie up until this point, but this almost redeems it for me.
Is this right before the credits roll?
Yeah, it's we'll get to it.
Yeah, okay.
It's
okay, right.
it's stupid by like.
Oh yes.
Trust me, it's very stupid, but it was my kind of stupid that I was like, crap,
So
I kinda like that.
the point I was getting at, so it takes the time to introduce the characters, and part of me what was talking about how it's trying to do something that is a movie thing, but it doesn't quite understand how to do it in the correct pacing. The movie, and I think this is a good idea for a movie like this. It opens with a winner that follows Blue Jeans from behind, right? It follows her from behind, and it's this big one shot that goes through the whole strip club, and she talks to the chef, she talks to some of the strippers, she talks to the bouncer, and she like says, "Hey, what's going on?" And they say something, but it doesn't understand the pacing, and it's like they'll say the response, and then we'll already follow her through the door, and it feels like it's cutting it off almost. It feels like she's not actually waiting around for the response to what she's saying, or what they're saying is too long, so the pacing of it doesn't quite add up.
Yeah.
But when I was saying about stuff that you could cut, so in this first like 30-40 minutes, like we meet these like 3 or 4 strippers. Like a new girl, there's like some girls who have various gimmicks, and we see like 3 of them perform, and each one is like a solid like 3-minute, 4-minute sequence of them dancing and taking their top off. There's a lot of boobs. Like you see almost every female character's boobs in this movie. It feels kind of gratuitous to be honest, like the amount of it.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with strip clubs, and like, if any, like, I don't imagine like any strippers listen to this, but I could be wrong. Like, if you're a stripper, like, I think all the more power to you. There's nothing wrong with that. But here, it doesn't feel empowering at all.
Do you know what I thought
any of these women.
Do you know what I thought was weird about how it treats it though? It doesn't treat it that sleazy either. It's kind of, they all like each other a lot. It's really weird. Like they treat it as this dream job for all these people who are involved.
Yeah, I feel like they themselves like aren't portrayed in a bad light. I just think it's the way the movie, like you said, it lingers on them. So it's it's almost cheap in a way. Like it's trying to get people to.
Well, yeah, when the scene, when the stripper scenes start, it just turns into a montage of their dancing and taking the clothes off. There's not really any plot going on during it for the most part. There's at least one bit that has and they even put some weird humour in there as well. We'll get to that in the spoilers. I don't want to spoil what those are, but let's just say, if there's guys actually into these things that some of these strippers do on stage, there's something weird about you. And I'm not even talking about the one you're probably thinking of first, Tim. Like, I think there's one that I at least know some guys are into, and that's like fine, whatever. But there's a couple that are just so weird that I'm like, oh god, what's going on?
Well, I think it's, again, the movie doesn't do a good job of portraying it. It's like, like obviously whatever you're into is fine, but the way it's portrayed in the movie, it is weird the way people react. Like they're kind of like, oh yeah, cool, like high five it.
Yeah, do you know what really threw me off though? And again, this goes back to how they treat the strip club. Is it has this really weird feel. It's like they want it to be the local bar where everyone's a regular. They all know each other to the point where there's an old man who's brought his wife, and his wife is sitting there knitting during the strip club stuff and through the strip sequences, and it's just like, what is this? Where is this set? Like, who are these people like that treat a strip club like this?
It's very strange. Like, it's not like Cheers or anything. Like, this isn't like the local. I mean, well, maybe it is. Maybe that's what they're saying. But it's kind of strange if that is like the local hangout for people.
Yeah, it's really weird how it portrays it. And maybe there's places like this. I don't know, but it felt bizarre. So So this is a thing. It lingers on the nudity a lot. Especially there's a mid-credit sequence, which is one of the longest mid-credit sequences I think I have ever seen.
Oh, well, you'll have to fill me on that because I was not happy with this movie. I stopped it right after the credits. So
Oh, right. Well, I'll get to tell you what it was.
okay.
You didn't miss much necessarily, but I mean, what's the one female character you didn't get to see take her top off?
Was it the pregnant lady?
Okay, not counting her.
Yeah. Okay.
Not counting her.
I don't know their names, but I think I know who you're.
It's the one. No, it's the
Talking
one
about-
whose name you do know.
Oh, of course. Oh, Blue Jeans.
Yeah, Blue Jean.
BJ.
So there's a
Yeah,
mid-credit scenes where she does a strip on stage.
Okay.
And you get to see her take her top off.
That's good. I mean, after everything she's been through, I'm
It's
sure
a flash.
she.
No, that's a flashback scene. It's
Oh,
filling in.
okay.
It's filling in some crucial plot details that weren't answered in the movie.
Well, that sounds like a good place to put it, and halfway between the credits.
And surprise, surprise, it's baseball themed. But that
nice.
one really stuck out to me though as being really gratuitous because it was like, oh, here you go. Here's one more person taking their top off. Go on, have it. Have
Yeah.
more boobs. It's like, what's the point of this at this stage? I don't know.
As if like someone watching it was upset. Well, like, well, I didn't get to see the main character take their shirt off. What's the point?
Yeah,
Oh
like-
wait, no, we gotcha.
I feel like this is a thing where I can see this movie being better, even with all the nudity and stuff. It's not like I have a problem with the nudity per se. The problem is that the characters are so, like we say, wafer thin that I don't like them that much, and as a result,
Yeah.
and combine that with the mostly pretty bad acting across the board. There's some people who are okay. You could imagine some of them being okay with a better director and a better thing or whatever, but then there's some of them who they are like bad acting 101. Like every line they say sounds stilted and weird, as if they're reading it off a script just off screen,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
So
But
I'm gonna lump everything we kind of just said into complaint number one. Uh,
is this where you start talking
No.
about pizza, Tim? Because I know you were upset about how the pizza was treated.
I consider that a crime against pizza what she was doing, but
I'm going to be honest, I thought that pizza looked really weird even before she started putting honey all over it.
yeah, it wasn't great. But that aside, my other big complaint about the movie is for lack of a better term, we'll call them zombies. I know it is kind of a weird, like,
Yeah, I'm going to defend it slightly because I think I know what you're going to say. And you're going to say they're not traditional zombies. Why did they have to be different? Because at least in this sense, I don't think they actually are supposed to be zombies.
okay, that fair enough. But I would say that let's say they're not supposed to be zombies. I still think they are doing like the kind of modern zombie thing that I really don't like. Like I don't like that look they have, where they have like just like the black eyes with
Sure, but
blood constantly streaming down, and they do that one scream that I feel like they do in every zombie movie.
that's fair. Yeah, that's fair. The
And
reason why I would argue they're not supposed to even be zombies is because they don't eat people. They don't function as zombies. They actually.
I'll give you that.
They kill people with weapons. They're more like slasher movie villains, but it's caused by a virus. Like so, there is a difference.
I'll give you that, but they still have like the tropes of modern day zombies that I really don't like, and maybe that's just me. Maybe it's the kind of baggage I have that if you're gonna do something again, maybe not zombie, but if you're doing something like with a weird, virus outbreak or something, I don't like this over the top screaming. Like it looks like a metal music video or something to me.
Nah, I get it. I get it.
And this kind of and the vomit that they do, I feel like we've seen in other movies too. I really don't like that
it's over the top, yeah.
excessive, like very liquidy vomit. Ugh.
Okay, another complaint I'm going to have in the spoiler-free section is, Jesus Christ, there is some really, really dodgy CGI in this movie. And some of it is annoying because it actually ruins what would otherwise be a good kill.
Yeah.
There's actually a couple of kills that I thought, that did a really fun kill. I thought fun because at least if this movie was failing in every other regard, if it was giving me fun death sequences, I could have forgiven it a lot. But there was like one that should have been great, but it was ruined by all the really bad CG. It was a decapitation. I won't say who it is or whatever. We'll save more specific things for spoilers, but it just ruined the whole thing. And then there was another bit of CG that just didn't need to be there. And I need to save this one for spoilers, but let me just say, towards the end of the movie, there was an atrocious bit of CG that didn't even need to be there. It doesn't even make sense that you can see this thing It is so weird. I don't understand why it's there, but it actually ruins the moment that they could have otherwise had. Because instead of thinking, oh, X character's doing this, all I can think about is, why is that CG thing there? At one point there's a match as well that's CG and it looks terrible.
Oh, yeah.
At one point there's like a crack in the ceiling and it's all CG and it looks terrible. It just, oh my god, the CG is atrocious.
You know what I was actually thinking about today is I wonder if there's anyone out there that is actually like scared by CGI. Like just any CGI they find like terrifying. Like if that's the case, they probably like have so many good horror movies that like will scare them.
This is fair.
Or I should say so many bad horror movies that will be good to them because it scares them. But
Hey, some of these bad horror movies scare the crap out of me, but not for the right reasons.
just because you know you're gonna have to watch them and discuss them.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. So bad CG, bad pacing because there's all these extra like stripper bits that go on forever, and they do, and that's the problem. Like you're saying, oh, but are you being produced? No, I'm being bored because, yeah, okay, it's boobs, but like, if I want boobs, I can type boobs into Google and I will be presented with boobs.
And I don't know. This might make me sound like kind of weird or prudish, but I don't like when stuff is like kind of like trying to be like too sexy, if that makes any sense. Like I don't have any problem with nudity or like sex scenes or whatever, but I like when it feels like more natural or something. Like I don't like it as much when it's like, oh hey, look at me, like, or when someone's like, oh look at that, isn't that sexy? Check that out.
I like it well enough when it plays into the themes of the movie, like when it has a purpose in the story.
Sure, yeah.
Here it's not really. It's just everything feels like an excuse to have people with their tops off.
Yeah, and it's kind of what.
And don't get me wrong, a lot of horror movies in the 80s and stuff would have those scenes where the girls would take their tops off, but it'd be one scene and you'd get over it and it'd be like whatever. But this is like half the movie is just an excuse for boobs.
And I feel like it never really goes into like what you think the premise is, which, like, you know, I thought it was gonna be either like zombie strippers or like, you know, I feel like the setting seemed almost like incidental, like it's just they're there.
It could have been anywhere. This could have been a regular bar and none of them were strippers and the plot could play out almost the exact goddamn same.
Yeah, like it like the only reason they probably did it was so they could have so much nudity so people would be like, hey, I'm probably not going to get a great movie, but I'll probably see a lot of boobs. You know.
Yeah, it really does feel very shallow in that sense. And I know the argument, like, I can almost hear the argument from people who like the movie or from the filmmakers, like, oh, we're empowering strippers because they're all strong characters. Like, one of them can kickbox and one of them is this total badass. Because Blue Jean's meant to be this badass hero. She's meant to be this tough stripper chick who can fight back and do all this, and she's tough. And we see her like win arguments and like stand up to guys throughout the movie. And it's like, well, like, yeah, but she's very thin. Like it's her whole thing.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like, I guess I can't add too much, but no, I agree with what you're saying. Like you keep getting the feeling that they're trying to have her be like this badass, you know, like woman standing up for women kind of thing, but it never feels that genuine, I guess.
No, it doesn't. It just feels like it's just to have another attractive lady on the screen more than anything else. I don't know. And I feel like the attempts to give it some sort of like heart or plot feel really contrived and feel really, really thin as well. I don't know, the whole thing's just kind of, it does little to actually get anything from me.
Yeah.
So I guess we go into spoilers then, so we can talk about plot points.
Here we go.
So full spoilers from this point on for Peelers. Oh right, where to begin? So we have this, like, she's selling the bar. Blue Jean is selling the bar because she's been offered a lot of money and she wants to leave and do things. What things, I don't know. She never actually talks about it or says why.
She's finally gonna join the big leagues.
There's like literally no explanation for it. And it turns out the guy actually comes back. The guy who's buying the bar, he actually knows they're on oil. So there's oil underneath where the bar is. But this is the oil that's causing everything to happen. It's evil oil, which makes people go nuts and start killing people. Because of course it is.
As oil does.
As oil does. So that's kind of the plot of the movie, and that's why he's buying it, because he wants to like tear this place down and go digging for oil, because it'll be very good oil. Because it's.
I wonder if like the person that wrote it, whatever, thought they'd be really deep, like.
Oh, actually.
Oh, the oil, it drives people crazy. Like,
I just remembered that something else in this movie that I hate. Just from an acting and writing point of view. I can sum them up into one sort of general theme as well. It was whenever they had a character say something that was meant to make them sound smart. It was Logan talking about the amount of water in the human body, and he was like nailing the percentages. And it was like, he's supposed to sound smart, but I do not believe for a second that this person didn't just read this off a bit of paper.
No, definitely not.
It sounds like he just looked at a bit of paper which said on it, and then later on the bouncer was like, oh, but beer's only this percentage of water and blah 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 blah. My major was alcohol, and it's like, oh my, and then again this sleazy business guy who's talking about the oil and the carbons and all the rest of it, and every single time they did this, it felt like someone looked up something on Wikipedia and gave them the dialogue, and it feels like it's not quite there, but you know how in Birdemic the way they'd stop and give you a speech about the climate. It almost felt like for just 5 seconds they were just reading you some information rather than naturally having it in the conversation. It was really weird, and it took me out of the movie. But
it was just very quick little side tangent. I was showing my girlfriend Birdemic,
and she dumped you because clearly she was like, "No, what have you done to me, Tim? This is awful. Why are you doing this to me?"
To be fair, I was like, we didn't watch the whole thing. I was like, I just want to show you like a few like pieces of this movie, and like I was trying to skip like past the beginning, like once like the people actually talking, and then like I was like skipping ahead like 3, 4, 5 minutes, and like even like talking. After skipping ahead, she's like, they're still in the car. I'm like, yeah. They're still driving.
I think she legally is allowed to get a restraining order on you now. I just want you to know that, like. I think that's enough to just at least be partial abuse. I want to point that out. That's what you've done.
But it's also a good test of the relationship if they can stand you after showing even like 1/4 or actually that's way too much, like 1/20th of that movie.
I've got a different test. I sit and watch Chopping Mall with them, and if they don't like Chopping Mall, they're out. That's just the rule. That's
a good test too.
Chopping Mall's the one you need to like. But back to Peelers, which we clearly want to talk about. I'll give you the scenes I liked. I'll give you the moments I liked. I didn't like it for the dialogue, don't get me wrong, because I was complaining in the non-spoiler section about the strike 1, strike 2 thing. So there's this mystery throughout the whole film. Why does Blue Jean have a police bike? She has a police bike, right? And this random guy has a friend who rides on it a little bit, and he's asking all these questions about it. He's like, oh, how much will it cost? I'll buy it from you. Like, everything's for sale. And it turns into this really on-the-nose dialogue about him calling her a whore, like, everything has a price, even you. And because her name's Blue Jean, he calls her BJ, and that's when she snaps and says, strike 3, you're out. And she has a baseball in her hand, and she proper pitches the ball at his face. I liked the shot of it hitting his face. It was a good hit. Like, it looked good. Yeah, the other death I liked is the female police officer, because it's a small town with like 2 cops. The female deputy is like making out with Logan, because Logan's a ladies' man apparently in the office, and the again, for lack of a better word, the zombie, like she's on the floor and the zombie tips over the desk and the desk lands on her head and it splats. I thought that looked quite good.
Yeah,
that was a good
wasn't
death. Bad. The ones I didn't like, the ones that I thought were ruined. It was
get into some nipple action.
Oh, we'll get to nipples in a bit.
Okay.
I was thinking the decapitation of the chef.
Okay.
Where the zombie was properly cutting through the neck, and there was just all this CG fake shit going at the screen, and it looked terrible, and it ruined what otherwise would have maybe been a fun kill. You also had the antler horns through the nipples from behind. Yeah, that was a thing.
I don't think that actually I didn't think that looked too bad, but maybe it was because it was in like the room was pretty dark. And it was easier to mask like the CGI.
Let's talk about that the nipple joke. So there's a bartender character who doesn't actually end up lasting that long, but he's told he has to stand next to the stage while this new girl is doing her act because she has a jealous boyfriend who might show up, and he's like, oh, she doesn't have weird nipples, does she? I can't be doing with weird nipples. And when she takes her top off, and she's got like these big stupid prosthetic nipples that I can only describe as cross-eyed. They're sort of going in different directions. And this guy's like, oh, like his face, he just looks uncomfortable. And in fact, this is probably a good segue into the weird stripper acts.
Oh yeah.
Right. So now there's one who when they actually go full nudity at the end. We don't see the full nudity. The movie had enough class to keep the keep the crotch out of the frame, but she leans forward and she like pisses on stage, and then the crowd cheers. They roar. They cheer like so loud.
The two kids like right in front, which they look pretty young. I don't know if this is 18 or 21 plus strip club, but I like the two kids' expressions where they're just kind of like mystified at first, and then they wait a second, and they're like, "Yeah, that was awesome," and like high five each other.
Yeah, because we get this shot from like behind her, and she's on her back, and she sort of thrusts up. So we're sort of looking down her stomach, and we just see the water like squirting just like out, and it's just like, what is this? But that's the one that I kind of at least understand, because some guy, like, there is a thing, like some guys and some women as well are really into your water sports, we'll call it.
There you go.
So that's at least the thing. I know there's a market for that. There's one of the strippers is pregnant, and sadly I know there's a market for that as well. I don't get it. I really don't get it. But some guys like pregnant chicks. Sure. Here's the ones I don't get. The one who ends up peeing comes out on stage wearing a diaper, and her whole thing is that she's a baby. I don't get that. And then
that's odd.
The kickboxer chick, we don't see her whole act. She's the only one who goes out on stage that we don't see her whole act. We only see like a quick shot of it. But when we do see a quick bit of her stripper act, she's bent over and she's like farting into the mic.
Yeah.
Why?
It's very strange.
I'm getting the implication that she's doing it through her vagina, and that's why it's funny, but I don't know.
And I feel like it would make more sense if this was some type of weird like theme night, like
yeah,
like I don't know if they're doing like some like a dirty talent show or something, but there's never any indication like that. It's like I haven't been to strip clubs very often, but I feel like they're not always this crazy.
Probably not. I'll tell you what moment did make me laugh though, right at the end. So Blue Jean and Logan, who turn out to be stepmother and stepson, if I understood it right. It wasn't presented very clearly, because I legitimately, when he called her mum, I was like, she doesn't look old enough to be his mother. Like they did not look that different in age. Like she's a bit older, sure, but not like by that much.
Yeah.
I didn't get it. And then he tells it to the pregnant woman. Oh no, my dad met her when years after my mother died. So I was like, all right, so it's not your actual mother. And it felt really, because if they were going for the whole thing where over the movie, like he has this arc where he doesn't like her very much, but by the end he calls her mum because they've bonded. Yeah. That's an okay idea, but you need to set that up first. In this movie, he calls her mum before we find out the actual connection.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to be bringing it up then.
It's so stupid. I mean, forgetting that, at least that explains why she's not maybe that old compared to him. She's a younger girlfriend of his dad's rather than the same age as his dad. So that at least maybe adds up and makes sense that way. But still, it was just a really weird way to tell it. So stupid. But the moment that made me laugh then, so they two survive. It's Blue Jean and Logan who survives, and they ride off on her motorbike. And not quite the sunset, it's still nighttime, but they ride off. But we see that he's infected. We see a bit of oil coming from it, and he's holding the baby because the pregnant chick, of course, gave birth in the middle of the movie, and the pregnant chick got completely torn to shreds by a zombie after she gave birth, and he's holding the baby on the back of the bike while Blue Jeans is driving, and we see he's got oil. The oil starts pouring, and we see that he's infected. And the final shot of the movie is this wide shot from behind where you just see him drop the baby onto the road while they're driving, and that really made me laugh. Maybe it shouldn't, but it really made me, because that's the end of the shot, because after that happens the credits start to go up.
Yeah.
The final moment of the movie is him dropping a baby onto the road while they're driving.
It feels like I don't know, like the movie just doesn't care.
It just gave up.
Yeah. It's like symbolic of like the director just being like, I'm done. Get this out of here. The part that really made me laugh was this last kind of confrontation scene or whatever.
Was this
When you
outside?
have that, yeah,
Right.
with the guy on the motorcycle and
Zombie.
he-
Zombie on the motorcycle.
zombie on the motorcycle, and he calls her BJ, which of course, they've been saying up the whole movie, like,
Which, by the
don't call
way,
me that.
up before this scene, have any of the infected people spoke?
I mean, they've definitely had like grunts and stuff. I don't know if they've ever actually said words.
I don't think any of them have. I think this is like the only time in the movie any one of them actually says like a word or whatever.
Yeah. It's very strange, but but this whole scene is just ridiculous. Like they try being like so badass, like being like, "Don't call me BJ," but it's shot like so poorly. The way it just keeps cutting back, it's like so long and drawn out. And then, of course, she has a baseball bat, and he starts driving towards her with the motorcycle. So you can see where this is going. But the thing is, he doesn't even try to drive into her. Like, he only drives past her. So she can obviously just hit him with the baseball bat. But, like, there's not even an attempt. I don't know what he's trying to do.
I'm going to top this though, Tim. That is not the moment that made me laugh out loud. The moment that made me laugh out loud, it was the pinnacle of the baseball stuff, is when so the bodyguard gets killed behind the bar and she gives him a kiss, right? And because they figured out the weakness, because shooting in the head doesn't work, right? They think that works earlier on, and they even quote that exact line that every zombie movie has, where someone says the head, and then they go what, as if they don't understand. They go, you have to shoot them in the head. Like, why is it always that? Why is it always head? What do you mean? You have to shoot them in the head. It's always that two-part exchange. But anyway, so they find out eventually that it's water, because water and oil don't mix, and the whole thing comes from oil. So they're trying to like and the water's been shut off because she sold the place, so they're trying to like get booze and stuff to make that count and whatnot. Right. So behind the bar, he dies, and there's water spraying from the beer tap. Right, because she hit it to kill one of the other zombies, and so piano music starts playing as she puts on a baseball cap, which we've not seen her wear yet. She puts on a baseball cap. She rises up from behind the bar in slow motion as the water, not the water, but the beer from the beer tap is like spraying around in slow motion. She's rising from behind the bar in slow motion. There's another zombie across the room who, by the way, after throwing a knife at the bouncer into his neck that killed him, he stood there waiting for them to have a heartfelt goodbye and a heartfelt kiss. Like, he's actually, if you actually go back and time it, he's probably standing there just waiting for about 30 seconds to a minute before she gets up from behind the bar.
Well, they still have some manners.
Slow motion
monsters.
from behind the bar, right? She rises up, she puts on the hat, she tips it like a pitcher in baseball, and then actually like revs up the ball and throws it at his face. And then after she hits him, the camera comes back and it's just a slow motion thing of her standing there in the water, and she has the bat over her shoulder as this piano music, it almost sounds like Moonlight Sonata, playing. And it's this big climactic moment where you're like, yeah, the blue jeans become her baseball self. This is her most badass. And I was laughing my ass off because it felt so silly. It felt so stupid. Like, I'm supposed to care. Oh my god.
Yeah, like, I don't know, maybe like some of these scenes might have actually been cool or badass if they had been directed better. But the way everything comes off is just so cheesy.
Well, yeah, this is the thing, is I can imagine most of the ideas working with a better director, with better dialogue, some better acting, like all these things. Like, I could see it being okay with all these elements improved. But as it is, everything just comes off as so phony. Like I say, when I said about them like describing the science facts, and they sound like they've just read it off a page, and you don't feel convinced for a second that they actually know this. You kind of feel that way about most of the plot. You feel most of the moments in the film, you feel just like this is just a bunch of people trying to make a movie and it's not working. Kind of feel to it.
The line that really made me laugh, that I hate to admit that I kind of like, but
I think
it was so stupid.
This. I think I know where you're going with this, and I think I hated it.
when Logan pisses on the
zombie, because
we've established
that the water hurts them.
Yeah.
He says piss off, and then whips his dick out and pees on him. And this is actually a moment I was referring to earlier, because I said there's a moment where there was CG where there didn't need to be CG. And this is the moment I was speaking of, because so we're behind him, the camera's behind him, and he's pissing on the zombie. For some reason, and I don't know why, because it worked without it. It worked, you just standing behind him and you just see the pee coming down between the legs. Classic. Classic. It's not even between the legs, he's at an angle, but it's like, it's hitting, you can see the pee hitting him. It's fine.
a CPS, classic pee scene.
Yeah. And then for some reason, at the wrong angle, this CGI dick comes out from the side of his leg. So, and it looks really fake. It's an obvious CG dick, right? It looks absurdly long because of the angle, because it looks like it's coming out and then snaking to the side. It looks so stupid and fake and big. And it's almost like the actor won a bet. It's like, okay, if I win this, if I get this right, you have to CG on like a huge cock just to make me look super big. Like,
well, do we know at this point, is he infected? Maybe this is a side effect of the infection. He has grown massive dongs that like, defy logic.
It looked blue. And it's like, and again, it only looks big because of the angle. It looks like it had to come out and then snake to the side. For us to see it from the angle we were looking at, it had to. There's no reason why we should. Even if his cock was a foot long, there is no reason why from this angle we should see it.
No.
But for some reason they added in this CG dick, and I don't know why. Because the shot worked without it. And instead of laughing that he's peeing on the zombie, I'm just going, why is there a CG dick? There's also some really stupid humour throughout. Like the chef has a dildo in his cabinet for some reason. Yeah. And then they use that dildo to put on. Speaking of bad CG, they set the car on fire with the zombie inside it. And when you see it, it looks like there's like a video screen. Like it's almost like the back window of the car is a video screen just playing fire rather than actually having fire inside the car. It's really, really bad.
It's like fire is like, I don't know if that's one of the hardest things to CGI or if it's one of the like easiest things to just skimp on. But like really bad fire CGI. I think nothing like it.
I think it really shows the quality of the effects throughout the film. When at the end of the movie, like they run this car into the building, into the bar, and you see there's a gas line open. Like maybe they've done that intentionally to blow it up. But as they drive off in the motorbike, I'm like, oh my god, this explosion's going to look bad. And then, to their credit, they actually hide most of it behind trees. Like, you see it sort of in the distance, in the background as they're driving off, so you don't really see it properly. It still looks pretty bad, but at least it wasn't as cringeworthy as I was expecting it to be, and I was really expecting it to be bad.
Now, maybe I missed something, so I don't know if you can fill me in, but when I think of peelers, I'm thinking of like people peeling off their skin or people maybe like eating skin or anything. Was there ever any point that would justify the name peelers for this movie?
I guess you would say someone peels their clothes off. There was a lot of that going on.
See, that's kind of what I thought, is like, it's all right, peelers, so it's gonna be like have a double meaning because you have strippers peeling off their clothes, but then once they turn into zombies they're gonna peel off skin or something. But yeah, there's nothing like that, and I don't know.
Yeah, I don't have it. And like I say, look, there's a good 40 minutes before the zombie stuff even happens. It's there's a lot of stuff where it's just like the waitress talking to these these Hispanic miners who come in, and they're the ones who have brought in the oil with them, and they get sick over the course of the night, and they eventually break out the virus. And there's a lot of stuff with them coming up, and the waitress talks to them, and then Blue Jean talks to them, and we have the various characters showing up, like the guy who tries to buy her bike, and Logan eventually shows up, and there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff before we even get to the. It's almost like I forgot it was a horror movie for like a good half an hour, if not more. And like I say, I respect the attempt at trying to build characters. I think it's a good thing to do. It's just that the acting and the actual writing were so poor that it just felt really tedious to get through it.
Yeah.
And then unfortunately, a lot of really bad CG ruined a lot of the potential kills. So.
Yep. Not much redeeming about this whatsoever.
Is there any other scenes or moments that I've not mentioned that you want to bring up?
I think we covered all the ones that stuck out.
CG Dick, CG Match, CG Blood and Decapitation, lots of bad CG moments.
Blood kind of surprises me because I feel like that's something that would still be so easy to do, like even with a small budget. But unless they don't want things to get all messy and
it's easier to do
stuff.
multiple takes. You don't have to clean up the fake blood.
That's true.
Unfortunately, that's the reason for it, and it's a shame because it really drags things down. Especially when there's so many low budget movies from the 80s and stuff, but they just did it. It's like, yeah, it can be done. Just do it. Like,
let me ask you something. You know, I don't want to get off on a big tangent on this, but when you do watch a movie like this that is depressingly bad, now I know you review a lot of other stuff for the channel, so maybe you don't have a ton of time, but after you watch something like this, do you need a palate cleanser? Like I don't know, like do you usually go like, let me see what's streaming now, let me get like a classic horror movie or something I could watch just to get the taste out of my mouth for this?
I don't think I typically like I'll insist on watching a good horror movie afterwards, but I think more than anything, I might put on like a comedy, like not a movie necessarily, but like right now I've been working my way through Seinfeld. So
Nice.
so after this, I'll watch a couple of Seinfeld episodes to cheer myself back up.
Okay.
Obviously very different, but it's something quick, something that can quickly put me in a good mood again. To be fair, I mean, you called this depressingly bad, and I don't know if I would agree with that word depressing, because don't get me wrong, it's very bad. It's very bad. But it didn't anger me in the same way that Bye Bye Man, Don't Knock Twice, It Watches, like, because, I mean, at the very least, it looked like a movie. It didn't look like It Watches did, like it was like some idiot's home movies. It looked like an actual movie that was lit properly. Maybe not the best looking movie ever, by any, of course not, but it looked like a movie. So I'll give it that. I'll give it the attempt of trying to build character, even if it was really contrived and thin and didn't really work. I'll give it a couple of cool death scenes. Not a lot of them. A lot of them were ruined by the effects or how it was shot, but there was a couple that I enjoyed.
Yeah. And there were a couple of times where the cheesiness or the badness did make me laugh. I think first and foremost, what they really had to do was cast someone better in the lead role. I think if Blue Jean had been a lot more likable and less fake feeling, it might have been a lot more enjoyable. And cut down the stripper bits to like a handy montage rather than the full. It felt like it went into a music video every time they made a stripper bit, and it was just them, like the audience reacting to it. Like, if you cut out like 20 minutes of this, cast a few better actors in some of the lead roles, it could have been a lot more salvageable than what it ended up being. Yeah.
Because the plot's not ridiculously stupid. Like how they describe, like in the oil is a bit stupid, but it boils down to your typical, some virus is making these guys go crazy, we have to survive. Like there's nothing wrong with that plot. It's fine. It's tried and true. Like people have done it well several times.
Yeah. And I think maybe it's not a horrible idea to say, hey, instead of doing like zombies, like we're gonna do this thing that it basically turns people like to these psycho serial killers. That is kind of interesting, but again, kind of go away from still making them kind of look and sound zombie like. It's
actually like just sometimes I was noticing, just to go back to the dialogue being bad and the acting. See the bodyguard, or not the bodyguard, the bouncer. What was his name? Remy. See, every time, like, I felt like half of his scenes were the same, where he would be questioning what's happening, and then Remy would go, "Oh, it's turning them into psycho killers." What do you mean it's turning them into psycho killers? It's the oil. This doesn't make sense. What oil? Like, he would just keep asking the same god. He would just keep being confused and question everything that the other characters were saying based on what they saw. And it felt very repetitious. Like I was noticing that happening a lot, to the point where I was very happy when he died, because at least I didn't have to listen to his stupid voice anymore.
Yeah.
Oh dear. So that's Peelers.
Oh boy.
Hopefully next week we will be on to a winner.
Please.
We're, you know what? Next week, I think by the time next week's goes up, we'll be into May, and I feel like out of 4 months of this year, we've got maybe 2 or 3 good movies so far. It's been a pretty slim in terms of quality for this year, so I really, really hope that we have a winner next week. but that's been Peelers. I guess it's all that's left for us to do is rate the film out of 10.
Okay. I mean, I can't really think of too many positives. Like you said, there is a level of, technical skills.
I don't know. I wouldn't go as far as say skill. I'd say it's technically enough. Like it's
like you said, it looks and sounds like a movie. It's not like you're watching someone's home video or something shot for like $10. Like there is a proficiency there. I guess
it's technically acceptable.
There you go.
That's how I'd put it.
So you got that going for it. There was a few cheesy stuff that made me laugh, and a few decent kills here and there, but still not going to give it too high. I think a 3.5 is what I'm going to go with.
Honestly, having talked about it, I feel like this is the sort of movie where if you're in a group of friends, you may have fun making fun of it as it goes on.
Sure.
On my own, this was kind of a tedious endeavour.
Yeah.
I think maybe in a group where you can laugh at the stupidity and crack jokes about it, maybe you'd get something more out of it, but certainly as
there you go.
Quality as a movie is definitely down in that sort of range. I would... Yeah... I think 3.5 is a good number. I was tempted to say 4, but 3.5 sounds better. I don't want to go with a 3, because a 3 is what I think I gave Don't Knock Twice, and I think this was easier to watch than Don't Knock Twice.
Yeah.
So I'll give this 3.5. I think that's a good score. So, there you go. 3.5 out of 10 all round for Peelers. Let us know what you thought of Peelers if you saw it in the comments below. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. It helps us out a lot if you do that. Get us on Twitter, mild_fuzz for channel updates. I'm at Wibble89 on Twitter. Tim's at Tim Vergulish. So if you want to see us ranting and rambling about various things on there, you can. But that's us, guys. So thank you very much for watching. We'll see you back next week for another Scream. I feel like Crypt Keeper almost when I said that. See you next week, kiddies, for a Scream. Thanks for watching, guys. Keep watching scary movies. We will see you next time.